everybody. Welcome back to Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly. And before we get started on today's very special show, I did want to cover a few housekeeping notes, I guess you'd say. Um, First of all, there will not be a Wednesday show this week. Our Vegas Tips and Tricks series will, step on the brakes for a couple of weeks. In place of that, though, we'll be doing what we used to call our monthly live stream. Usually now it's more like every 2 or 3 months. We're going to do a preview of the upcoming trip to Vegas Wednesday night. I believe that's the 30th. Is that right? Somebody correct me on that. But 8 o'clock Central Time, that'll be 6 o'clock Vegas time. So hope that some of you can join us. There will be prizes, or at least a prize, some kind of trivia contest, and we'll talk about the upcoming trip a little bit. And we'll be taking the following week off from our regular programming. We leave on Sunday. Most of the gang anyway gets in on Sunday. So not going to do a show on Saturday, and we're not going to do a regular Wednesday show next week either. Now, will there be a vlog? Yeah, there'll be some kind of a vlog. There'll definitely be updates throughout the trip. I don't know how detailed it's going to be. We may do some lives along the way. I have little or no doubt that you will see me appearing in other people's videos along the way as well. So, yeah, we'll definitely do some things, but I'm going to stop short of saying that we're going to have some sort of a structured daily vlog at this point. So keep that in mind. As I was thinking about some ideas for this week's show, I was going to do kind of a news update, talk about some things going on in Vegas, but we can do that anytime, really. And I guess we could really do this anytime also. What I thought I would do is I would challenge myself to put together basically an essential list of Las Vegas tips. The kind of stuff that I've talked about spread out over hours and hours of rambling, and see if I could squeeze it all into 15 minutes. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the essential Las Vegas tips. This is going to be one take. So if there's a few stumbles along the way, forgive me. All right, so why go to Vegas in the first place? If you've been many, many times, probably isn't necessarily the show for you. But if you're thinking about going for the first time or the first time in some time, then why go? Well, for one reason, Vegas is one of the premier travel destinations anywhere in the world, the entertainment capital of the world. Certainly there's gambling, but there's also fine, entertainment, arts, great sort of club scene, tons of great performers in Las Vegas, pools, spas, shopping, restaurants. It's all there. And it's still one of the most affordable places to go. And if you're a gambler, as I talked about last week, there's always a chance that you could win enough money to pay for your trip. You're not going to do that in New York City. But when should you go to Vegas? Well, broadly speaking, I recommend the spring and the fall. The summer just gets way too hot. Most of us have been dealing with a kind of Vegas summer lately, and that's how it is there almost all the time during July and August, and even some spillover back into June. So what months are the best to go? I really like April and maybe October. March, September, not so bad either. So try out those options. But what time during the week should you go? Well, that kind of depends on you. If you're looking for like the most excitement, the biggest crowds, the most events, well, then go during a major event, or, just go over a weekend, because that's when the city is most crowded. On the other hand, if you're looking for a little bit more of a laid back experience and a less expensive one, consider traveling during the week. Sundays through Thursday are typically the lowest hotel rates. But again, keep in mind any major event like the upcoming Formula One race or the Super Bowl are going to cause rates to go through the roof. As far as travel to Vegas, almost any major city is going to be able to fly you nonstop to Vegas. Again, just due to the nature of airlines, typically your best days flying to Vegas and back are probably Wednesday, Tuesday, Saturday also can be good. You definitely don't want to be flying out like Thursday, Friday night, coming back Sunday, Monday. That's when everybody does it, and that's when the rates are likely to be highest. So, where should you stay when you come to Las Vegas? Well, as a first time visitor, you really need to stay on the Las Vegas Strip. And that doesn't simply mean Las Vegas Boulevard, which stretches miles in either direction. You want that sort of concentrated area on the Strip, broadly speaking, somewhere between the Strat and Mandalay Bay, but I'd really compact it a little more than that and try to keep it between Tropicana Boulevard and Flamingo Boulevard. That's really the heart of the Strip. That's where the city center area is. That's where a lot of the new exciting hotels are and a lot of the attractions. And it's also pretty easy to walk further to the north or further to the south. How much should you expect to pay for a room in Las Vegas? Well, it's not as cheap as it used to be. I mean, if you have no gambling history anywhere, you don't find any kind of a deal, even the cheapest rooms are probably going to run you in the neighborhood of $70, $80 to $100. And don't forget the resort fees. They're not optional, and that could add another $40 or $50. But again, try to get a room for $130 to $150 in New York City or Los Angeles. Good luck. You're probably not going to be in the best part of town. The Strip is great, but if you want to spend at least 3, 4 nights downtown, definitely go to the downtown area and check out Fremont Street. There's a lot of things to do there. It used to always be a lot better gambling and a lot cheaper. Downtown's become a lot more popular in recent years, and that's not as true as it used to be. Gambling, it's not investment. We see people, blowing a lot of money in this sort of cryptocurrency. Well, that's probably the closest sort of investing to what you might get when you're gambling in Las Vegas. The odds are stacked against you in every single game. In the long run, you will lose. So if you do have some good luck playing, hey, set aside a little bit of that money. You'll feel better about yourself than giving it all back to the casino. And of course, have a good budget for yourself. If you have $1,000 to gamble with, don't blow it all the first day, or the rest of your trip's going to be a little rough. So, how much should you plan your Las Vegas vacation? Well, I generally recommend not over planning, particularly for first time visitors. And one of the big reasons why is the Las Vegas Strip is, in and of itself, a tourist attraction. You can easily spend a day or two just wandering in and out of the casinos and taking in the sights. There aren't quite as many cool free attractions as there used to be, but they're still out there. And you kind of want to be able to take yourself where the mood strikes you. So I recommend certainly planning out no more than one meal and one sort of major event, whether it's going to a show or a club or whatever per day. And otherwise, just kind of let yourself flow. If you do choose a hotel that's centrally located, it's going to make things a lot easier for you just getting around. Now, right now, Las Vegas is a mess, but normally the Strip is pretty easy to navigate on foot. Traffic is pretty slow if you take a car, but, most taxis and Ubers will actually use back streets to avoid some of that stuff. Getting back to the notion of Vegas as a good value, it's not the same sort of place it was when your grandparents went back in the 50s or the 60s. Yeah, you're not going to find those super cheap buffets or $1.99 steak meals. And if you find something like that, a lot of times it's going to be located well off the Strip. I mean, people have come up with lists of that's really easy to Google that. It changes from time to time. But, the real question to ask yourself, particularly on a 3 or 4 day trip, is it really worth your time and effort to travel 4 or 5 miles off the Strip just to save a few dollars? I don't think it usually is. That being said, as far as food is concerned, there's specials around the Strip that you'll see. Planet Hollywood and the Miracle Mile shops have a number of restaurants with some really good breakfast and lunch deals. And that may be the key right there. If you can eat your biggest meal around lunchtime, you're going to save money over the same food at dinner time. Now, what are some other pieces of advice about Las Vegas? Well, you know, be careful. Las Vegas is a big city. And even though the tourist areas are probably some of the best patrolled areas in the world as far as police and security people, there's still a lot of people that get ripped off. Either, their pocket gets picked or, somebody takes advantage of them. People try to approach you on the Strip. I would just encourage you to walk away. And if they try to approach you in the casino, they're probably timeshare people. You don't want to deal with that. Again, you're trading valuable time for, value that's not really there. So make sure you're cautious, make sure you're careful. People have a tendency to drink a little too much in Las Vegas, and that can make you susceptible. And so make sure you don't turn yourself into a victim. Along those same lines, Las Vegas, I once said my best tip about Las Vegas is to be comfortable. And first and foremost, you need comfortable shoes. It doesn't matter even if you think you're just going to walk from your room to the cab stand or just walk around inside the casinos. The reality is you're going to walk more than you could ever imagine. Unless you've been recently, and it's going to take its toll on your feet. So make sure that you've got comfortable shoes. But it's not just your feet that are going to suffer in Las Vegas, particularly if you're there during the hot part of the year. But regardless of whether it's winter, spring, summer, fall, Las Vegas is, if not always summery, almost always dry. If you're not used to that, your skin is going to dry out, your nasal passages, your throat, your insides are going to dry out. So make sure you stay hydrated inside and out. And that doesn't mean, 22 margaritas a day, okay? So be careful on that one as well. There's a lot of things to see and do around Las Vegas. There's a lot of things you shouldn't do in Las Vegas. For one thing, I don't care what your funny uncle told you years ago, prostitution is illegal in Las Vegas. If you must, there are ranches an hour or two outside of town, but we're not talking about that here today. The only drug that is legal outside of the norms is marijuana, but it's not legal to smoke it on the street or in your motel room, even though you're going to smell it from time to time. If that's a problem for you, then Las Vegas is going to be a difficult sell. In general, you smell smoke a lot of places in Las Vegas, but it's not as bad as it was, say, 10 or 20 years ago. There are places now opening up marijuana lounges. So if you go to one of the dispensaries where they sell the product, you can definitely find out more about that because that situation is changing on a daily basis. But don't go looking for illegal drugs. And like, for God's sake, don't drink and drive. It is a terrible situation, and the state of Nevada and the city of Las Vegas do not tolerate it well. So, in general, I would say don't get a car unless you have a specific destination in mind that you want to visit somewhere off the strip or in the region. The people that I know that typically rent cars do it because they really enjoy exploring those outside areas and traveling around the whole region. And there's certainly a lot of things to see in the area, whether it be some of the near-end attractions like Red Rock Canyon or Mount Charleston, or things a little bit further afoot like the Grand Canyon. I don't really recommend going to the Grand Canyon or any of the national parks in Utah, California. It's just, you're not going to have the time that you should have to devote to those properties. So don't rent a car. Your best bet getting around is usually going to be a ride share, Uber or Lyft, but keep in mind that sometimes with surge pricing, a cab can also be cheaper. There are free trams that go up and down the strip, and there is a monorail as well. And there's a pretty good bus system in the city. But again, all of those things are going to take time away from your time in Las Vegas, so keep that in mind. You can get a great deal on a bus pass. I think it's like $8 for 24 hours and ride all over the city. But again, you're going to spend a lot of time waiting, and you're going to spend a lot of time on the bus, so keep that in mind. Again, the hotels in Las Vegas themselves are an attraction. The gambling, is, of course, is a big part of it. If you want to, do the best, study up on blackjack or craps. The odds there aren't too bad. The slot machines are not great. By and large, they're going to probably take, 10% of your bet on a regular basis. So, and where to stay in Las Vegas specifically, the properties here, mention any hotel in Las Vegas and someone will say it's a great place to stay and someone else will say it's a terrible place to stay. There are good rooms and bad rooms, good experiences and bad experiences everywhere. If you really want to stay at the best of the best, I certainly recommend places like the Wynn, Waldorf Astoria, or Four Seasons, but there's so many good 4-star and 3-star hotels in and around the Las Vegas Strip. And besides, how much time are you really going to spend in your room anyway? So again, when you talk about shows or restaurant reservations, if there's something you just absolutely have to see, I would recommend doing that in advance. Again, If not, if you can be more flexible, sometimes you can find discounts day of show, and you may stumble on a place that just looks really cool and turns out to be your favorite place to eat. Um, I think that kind of wraps up some of the major points that I always want to make. If you do gamble, make sure that your gambling is being recorded. Every casino has a players club. Make sure you use your card in the machines or give it to the pit boss if you're playing on a table. You should not try and play gamble just to try to earn comps or freebies like rooms and meals. But if you're going to play anyway, make sure that it gets recorded and try to concentrate your play as best if you can, particularly at the hotel you're staying at, because you may be able to get a good deal or get some of your room reimbursed. Along those lines, your best bet is usually always to bet or book directly through your hotel, because that's going to give you the most flexibility, and it's going to give the hotel the most ability to make things right if there's something wrong, and also take care of you if you're a good enough customer. And it isn't just gambling. Most properties anymore also count spend in their restaurants or even the gift shop, and it can earn you some great deals along the way, particularly if you decide to come back. Okay, so did I miss anything? What are some things that you would say about Las Vegas? Make sure you're staying safe. Stay under control. Don't wander off into neighborhoods that you don't know anything about, because there's some bad ones that aren't that far away from the touristy areas. If you ever feel uncomfortable, don't feel awkward about approaching hotel security or a police officer and letting them know. They've seen it all, and it's not going to shock them. Okay, so just take care of yourself, take care of your family and your friends on your next Vegas visit. Hopefully, this little condensed Vegas tips program will help you get a good idea about the best things to do and not to do in Las Vegas. And if you want more, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk about this kind of stuff in more detail going forward. Well, I think, not counting that housekeeping at the beginning, we did it in about 15 minutes. Let me know what you thought. And again, if you have any feedback, any ideas that you want to share, please leave them in the comments below. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday with our live stream. Until then, I hope you have a great, healthy, and lucky week. We'll see y'all again real soon.